Hello, everybody. Imagine you're walking down the narrow streets of Hamtramck, a small city in Michigan covering just about 2 square miles. Once, these streets were filled with the aroma of traditional Polish baked bread and the ringing of church bells that decorated the mornings of Catholic residents. Laughter and prayers echoed from pastel-colored houses, where every family proudly preserved their time-honored traditions. Hamtramck, at the height of its glory in the mid-20th century, was a Polish stronghold in the United States. Almost 90% of its residents were of Polish descent, cherishing their culture and language like treasured gems. Festivals like Christmas Vigilia and Easter were major celebrations involving the entire community. Grocery stores sold kohlrabi and pierogi, while St. Florian Cathedral stood majestically as the spiritual and social center of the city. But time passed, and change, slowly but surely, crept in. Detroit's fluctuating economy and shifting job opportunities prompted many Polish families to move to larger, more modern suburbs. Homes that once buzzed with the sounds of large families gradually became quiet, and storefronts closed one by one. At that moment, a new wave of immigrants arrived, bringing hope and fresh dreams. They came from Bangladesh, Yemen, Bosnia, and other countries in the Middle East and South Asia. In their hands, Hamtramck began to change its face. Now, if you walk down the same streets, you'll be greeted by the aroma of curry spices, bone marrow, and halal roasted meats wafting from small corner stalls. The languages you hear are no longer Polish, but Bengali, Arabic, and Bosnian. Mosques stand side by side with old churches. The call to prayer replaces the church bell's chime, and the colorful traditional robes from various Muslim cultures decorate the streets. At the night market, mothers chat while selecting fresh vegetables and dates to prepare for Eid al-Fitr. Children play in parks that were once empty, dressed in modern clothes mixed with touches of traditional cultures from around the world. The atmosphere that was once painted only with Eastern European traditions is now filled with new energy, hope, and a new identity. Hamtramck is no longer just a small city in Michigan. It has become a symbol of transformation, diversity, and the growing strength of the Muslim community contributing to American life. This city is living proof that social and demographic changes are not just about numbers, but about real human stories, lives that fight, thrive, and complement each other. Once known as the Polish City, Hamtramck now carries a new nickname, America's first Muslim city. But this is more than just a label. It's a journey full of struggle, hope, and courage. Imagine a small town suddenly becoming a magnet for thousands of immigrants, each arriving with their own stories and dreams. They weren't just looking for a place to live, but also for recognition, respect, and a voice in their city's life.
In the early 2000s, the Muslim community realized that to live comfortably and safely in Hamtramck, they needed to get actively involved in local politics. This struggle started small, attending city council meetings, proposing improvements for places of worship, and advocating for Muslim community rights in schools and public spaces. 2013 was a turning point. National media began to pay attention as the Muslim population started to dominate the city's demographics. Not long after, in the 2015 city council elections, Muslims held the majority of council seats for the first time. This achievement felt like a huge victory for those who had long felt marginalized. One of the most historic moments came when Emma Galeb was elected mayor in 2021, becoming Hamtramck's first Muslim mayor. he was not just a symbol of change but also a driving force behind city policies that became more responsive to the needs of the Muslim community. Today, Hamtramck can be seen as a social laboratory. Here, Muslim residents strive to maintain their traditions while building bridges with other communities. Mosques serve not only as places of worship but also as centers for education, social activities, and cultural dialogue. Social life in Hamtramck has transformed as well. Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha celebrations have grown into major events involving the entire community, including non-Muslims who are invited to join in the spirit of togetherness and mutual respect. Coffee shops and halal restaurants have sprung up as popular spots for young people born in America but deeply rooted in their cultural heritage to meet and discuss. However, the path hasn't always been smooth. Challenges and criticisms have come from both inside and outside the community. Yet, the spirit to unite and build the city together pushes Hamtramck forward, showing how diversity can be a strength rather than a barrier. If you read the news or hear stories about Hamtramck, you've probably come across the claim that the city is now 90% Muslim. But is that number true, or is it just a myth that's grown from stories and assumptions? The first fact to know is this: the official US Census does not collect data on religion, so there are no exact statistics that can definitively confirm what percentage of Hamtramck's population is Muslim. This makes the 90% Muslim claim hard to prove officially. However, many studies and media reports have tried to approximate the reality. They find that the Muslim community in Hamtramck is indeed large and growing, especially among ethnic groups from Bangladesh, Yemen, Bosnia, and other countries in the Middle East and South Asia. According to some estimates, the Muslim population in the city likely ranges between 40 and 60%, depending on the source and the time of observation. This figure is high enough for Muslims to be a majority or a relative majority, but not necessarily as high as 90%. Interestingly, the 90% figure was more often used to describe Hamtramck in the past, when most residents were Polish Catholics. So there's a kind of ironic twist. Hamtramck used to be 90% Polish Catholic. Now it might be around 50% to 60% Muslim, with the rest made up of various other communities.
These numbers also change over time. Immigration continues, and the younger generation born in America may have more complex identities, balancing Islamic culture, family heritage, and American lifestyle. So, population percentages are only rough snapshots of a very dynamic reality. What's clear is that the presence of the Muslim community in Hamtramck isn't just about statistics. It's about real stories of people who came searching for a new home, struggling to build a life, and contributing to the community. Numbers are just a small part of a much bigger, vibrant picture. So, when you hear Hamtramck is 90% Muslim, remember to look deeper. What's the story behind that number? And what does this change mean for the people living there? Hamtramck is indeed an example of a successful Muslim community building a new life in America. But like any city undergoing major transformation, not everything goes smoothly without challenges. One issue that stirred quite a commotion was the ban on pride flags on city government property. When Hamtramck city government decided to prohibit the display of the rainbow flag, a symbol of LGBTQ+ pride, many criticized the move. For residents who see the city as an inclusive public space, this policy felt like discrimination and a restriction on freedom of expression. On the other hand, the city government, now majority Muslim, argued that it was made to respect the religious values and beliefs held by the majority of its population. They wanted to ensure that public spaces did not conflict with the strong religious norms within the community. This issue sparked intense debate both inside the city and in national media. Some saw it as a conflict between pluralism and traditional values. Others viewed it as a test of local tolerance and democracy. Additionally, religious practices such as ritual animal slaughter during Eid al-Adha also became controversial. In the past, city regulations restricted animal slaughter to certain areas, which made the Muslim community feel their religious rights were limited. A long struggle later bore fruit. Halal animal slaughter is now permitted in designated locations, recognizing this legitimate religious practice. Amid these challenges, there are also complex social dynamics at play. Tensions sometimes arise between conservative Muslim groups and other residents who may be more progressive or secular. Differences in culture, language, and values can make dialogue difficult, but they also create opportunities for learning and mutual understanding. For example, young Muslim Americans face a dilemma between preserving family traditions and adapting to a more liberal American culture. They often become both bridges and points of friction between two worlds. Even so, many Hamtramck residents continue to strive for harmony. They organize joint events, interfaith dialogues, and social activities involving diverse communities. These efforts show that, despite challenges, there is hope and a strong spirit to live together peacefully. Hamtramck is not just an ordinary small city. It is a mirror reflecting the vast changes in American society, constantly moving, colorful, and sometimes complicated. From a Polish town tightly woven with Catholic traditions, it has transformed into a vibrant, passionate, and influential Muslim community. What happens in Hamtramck teaches us many lessons: that a minority community can grow into a real social and political force, that identity and culture can change without losing respect for the past, and most importantly, that diversity is a strength that can unite if embraced with goodwill and open dialogue. The future of Hamtramck looks full of potential, but also challenges. How this city can continue to be a safe and comfortable home for all its residents, whether born here, newly arrived, or long-time dwellers, is both a big question and a shared hope. Muslim leaders in the city continue striving to manage differences and build bridges across cultures. Social initiatives, interfaith education, and community empowerment programs are key to maintaining peace and harmony. The younger generation born in Hamtramck also brings new energy. Those who blend Islamic cultural roots with American lifestyles, becoming catalysts for positive and creative change. They have the potential to become future leaders who can bridge divides and enrich society. Still, Hamtramck must remain vigilant against potential conflicts arising from misunderstandings, prejudice, or social imbalance. Maintaining open communication and mutual respect is essential. In the end, Hamtramck is a real-life story proving that even a small city can become a grand stage for social transformation. Once 90% Polish Catholic, it now shows that identities and cultures can evolve without losing their core as a strong, spirited community moving forward.